For 2 weeks only, get your own Zombie Killer t-shirt. A link is down below. I've made over 1,000 videos for my channel, but I've yet to actually make a single video discussing the forest in Black Ops 3. And I'm finally touching on it. This is the first video I've ever made discussing it because I've never really had a good theory. I didn't have much of an explanation as to what was going on with this forest, so rather than just bullshit around for a while, I just didn't feel like touching it. It didn't really pertain to the main story. It just seemed like something that we don't quite understand. There's a new theory floating around, and I thought I would finally discuss it because I do find this theory interesting. The theory goes that the forest in Nacht Der Untoten is actually the forest that we see our character sitting in and that we see after a match of zombies. The theory starts off a little silly. The basic idea is that Nacht has these pine trees that you see off in the distance. You can look at them when you look at the moon over here. And then they're also very similar to the pine trees that you'll see when our characters are sitting around the campsite. And the thought is that, well, because these are pine forests and we don't know of any other pine forests in the zombie storyline, maybe this is the same place. And it also just kind of makes sense that Nacht Der Untoten would be part of the forest, or at least the forest surrounding Nacht would be where our characters are chilling. This is kind of this weird limbo state. We don't really know what it is. I suspect it's in Agartha or something like that, and Nacht is this map that keeps appearing in the zombie storyline. It seems to have some sort of magical significance. It was the first real known zombie outbreak. It was also where our characters keep popping up. It teleported into transit. It worked its way into Revelations. It was kind of the hub. Our characters, for some reason, keep going back to Nacht. Even Monty said that we've never been there. Yet, for some reason, he feels the need to bring us there. This place has a weird significance. There's something ethereal about it that we don't quite understand, and maybe that plays into the fact that it is this area where our characters just kind of sit in a weird kind of limbo. And what this limbo is also difficult to explain, so don't even get me started on that. Now this is the theory, and I like this theory because it kind of works. It makes sense, but once you hold it up to a bit of scrutiny, it does kind of fall apart. So first off, Nacht was never really planned to have any sort of story. If you look around Nacht Der Untoten and kind of go into NoClip, you're not going to find any Easter eggs. You can go look at the forest. It's completely uninteresting. And that's because it was never planned. It was just a reused World at War campaign map. And this forest in Black Ops 1 is not really any forest that, when they put it into the game, had any significance. In addition to that, you can also consider that the forest in Nacht Der Untoten, at least in Black Ops 3, is alive. You can see a lot of pine needles on the trees. The forest looks very thick and full, but when our characters are in the forest after a match, you'll notice a lot of the trees have lost their pine needles. It's almost like this forest is dying. So Nacht has like a forest that's alive and well, but this forest over here is pretty much dead. There's also no blue glow. If you look at our characters sitting in the forest, there's a blue glow behind them, but there is no blue glow in Nacht Der Untoten. Now, some people have suggested that the moon is actually generating this glow, but I'm not sure about that. I'm not really buying it. Also, the timeline suggests that this map is actually in Germany. If we read the timeline, it says Nacht Der Untoten, an allied plane malfunctions over in an airfield and crashes. German army trucks transporting the undead and Element 115 between Group 935 facilities is struck in the crash. The Marines surviving the crash hold out against the undead as long as they can. So that's the official story, and that's what happened in the original Nacht Der Untoten. But maybe when our characters are teleported back there, it's something slightly different. Who knows? Also, just because there's pine trees, not a dead giveaway. I have pine trees in my backyard, but that doesn't mean I'm going to find Tank Dempsey sitting back there eating a can of beans. So just because there's a pine tree doesn't guarantee that this is actually the forest. Also, I'm more inclined to think that when our characters are sitting in that forest, they're just sitting in Agartha. That's kind of the best explanation right now. It's a lazy explanation, it's a boring one. It doesn't give you any purpose, it doesn't give you any reason for our characters to sit there, but it just kind of works. Now there's one thing I will leave you with, and it's this radio from Dr. Monty.
Nacht Der Untoten. That translates as Night of the Dead. I learned that tonight. Been trying to scrub up on my German, you see. Anyway, It happened in an old concrete building on an airfield somewhere. I don't know where. I remember it being really small, simple by today's standards. I think there was a fog. Not a lot of it, certainly not coming into the building itself. You know what I just realized? You weren't even there. At least not at first. It was some other random, forgettable soldiers that had the misfortune to live through that horrible night, or Nacht, as it was actually known. Yeah, I speak German now.
Dr. Monty, for some reason, makes a point to mention the fog that is floating around in the area, and the area where our characters are sitting is also a bit foggy, and fog doesn't really have to mean anything, but why would Monty mention it if it wasn't somewhat significant? I do think that Treyarch does almost everything they do for a reason. They wouldn't just write up a random line about fog just to bullshit around and waste time. No, they brought that there for a reason, and maybe they are trying to have us draw a parallel between the fogginess of this map and the fogginess of the area where our characters sit. Who knows, but that area isn't as foggy as, say, Nacht, so it's a complete crapshoot right now, and we can't really go into no clip and fly around in Black Ops 3 yet, so we can't get a good look at the forest. The best we can do is look at it from inside the map, and there's so much fog, there's so much light generated by the moon, that it's really hard to get a good look at the forest. Sure, it's a pine forest much like where our characters sit, but as I said earlier, that's not a dead giveaway that this is the forest in Black Ops 3. That's going to wrap things up for this video. It's an interesting theory, and it's one that I think is definitely worth discussing because we don't have many good leads for this forest, and this might, despite having a lot of flaws, be one of our best leads. I'm going to go, though. I hope you have a wonderful day, and bye.